Hello and welcome to Daily Politics, reaching you from Trust TV here in Abuja. I am Suleiman. Today on Daily Politics, we discuss direct primary elections as proposed in the amendments to the Electoral Bill 2021. The political environment has been burning over the issue of direct primaries for political parties in the country. Section 87, subsection 1 of the amendment bill reads, "A political party seeking to nominate candidates for elections under this bill shall hold direct primaries for all elective positions, which shall be monitored by the Commission," that is, INEC. As usual with such landmark policies in Nigerian politics, the issue has sharply divided opinions. Supporters of the issue say that it will return democracy back to the people and end corruption in the delegate system. Opponents say direct primaries are unworkable. In this debate, governors and legislators appear to be on opposite sides, and both sides are said to be lobbying the president to assent their version of the amendment. Which side of the argument is best for Nigerian democracy, and why? Which side of the bill will the president assent to? We'll be discussing all of these issues with my guest today. Engineer YY Sani is the national chairman of the Action Democratic Party, ADP. He was also the party's presidential candidate in the 2019 elections. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Suleiman.
Thank you
for having me.
Thank you. But before we go on, we'll take a minute, as usual, to bring you a roundup of politics and the news today. Please stay tuned.
Senator Biodun Olujimi, representing Ekiti South Senatorial District in the Senate on Sunday in Ado-Ekiti, indicated her interest to contest the state governorship election slated for June 18, 2022. Olujimi, who disclosed her decision to newsmen in a telephone conversation in Ado-Ekiti, is contesting under the platform of People's Democratic Party. The news agency of Nigeria gathered that Olujimi and 8 other women aspirants are among the 17 people who have so far obtained nomination forms and had been screened by the PDP at the National Secretariat in Abuja. Olujimi said her decision to join the race was born out of desire to salvage the state from the woods through selfless service to the people, irrespective of their social status. The lawmaker said she decided to run following calls from stakeholders, including the downtrodden, traditional rulers and eminent sons and daughters of the state. A pro-democracy group, the Campaign for Democracy, has decried the alleged delay in declaring vacant the Akure South, Akure North Federal Constituency seat, 3 months after the death of the previous occupant. The seat became vacant following the demise of Adedayo Omolafe in August 2021. The Center for Democracy alleged that the delay was mischievous and against provisions of the Electoral Act. In a statement issued by the Secretary of CD, Ifanyo Dili, in Akure on Sunday, he said the alleged refusal of the National Assembly to declare the seat vacant ran contrary to the provisions of the Electoral Act, which provides that a by-election should be held on or before 90 days after the death of a lawmaker. The crisis rocking the All Progressives Congress (APC) assumed a curious twist on Sunday following the declaration by a chieftain of the party from Zamfara State, Senator Kabiru Marafa, that the Governor Mai Mala Buni-led Caretaker Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee is an illegal contraption unknown to the law. At a media parley in Abuja, Marafa, who represented Zamfara Central in the Senate for 8 years, said Governor Buni cannot operate as a governor and also superintend the party. Senator Marafa also declared last Saturday's purported Congress of the party in Zamfara State as an exercise in futility, saying it was dead on arrival. According to him, the law requires a party to give a 21-day notice to the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) for the conduct of such congresses.
Welcome back. This is Daily Politics on your favorite channel, Trust TV. Now the discussions proper. Thank you, Engineer. I'm former presidential candidate. Now, you've been in politics for about, should I say, forever. So, all these issues that we're talking about. So far, the delegate system has been the most favored position of most political parties in the country, particularly the APC and the PDP, who have formed national governments in the country. Why do they favor the delegate system? Let's start there.
Well, thank you very much for having me. This is, I believe, it's at the cornerstone of entrenchment of democracy. When you talk about how you elect your leadership, because primaries are about recruitment of leadership, how you present your party members that are going to represent you in elective positions in the country. So to that extent, I think it's very, very fundamental that we get it right, and very important we get it right. Why some parties seem to be, in love, let me use the word, with indirect primaries is because it allows them all sort of freedom, if you like, too much freedom to dictate, how people get to be in power. And it's not in the interest of the populace. I'm talking about the public now. When you look at the indirect primaries itself, the experience here, and by and large, everywhere it is practiced, it's laden with a lot of fraud. In fact, it can be described as an organized crime against democracy.
In what way, sir?
In the sense that people get criminalized, human beings are reduced to just ordinary commodity, is the most abusive, system of electing representative, because the person that is electing the representative, somebody to represent him, in most cases, he does not even know him. Perhaps he will not even know him until after the elections. The closest he will come to the person is the pictures, when the posters are pasted, for him to see it. All he sees is the person's money and the so-called maybe middlemen, who godfathers and whatever, gatekeepers in this case, who will now collect the money, assemble people in a hall, and then just tell them that, okay, we want you to elect so person, So the person electing his representative does not know the person representing him. The person representing him does not know him. So there's no empathy, there's no connection. There's a complete disconnect between the led and the leaders. And this is why we are where we are today. Because if there's no empathy, there's no connection, I don't know you, you don't know me, all you know is my money. So how can I really do your bidding? How do I feel, your pains? How do I even care about what you feel or your concerns?
Is that the reason we have so many court cases following primary elections?
Court cases,
which sometimes even change governorship candidates.
Exactly.
Here and again.
Exactly, because it's anything goes. That's what you have in that system. Any Dick, Tom, and Harry can come and get the ticket of the party, because he doesn't have to do anything. All he needs to do is fill the briefcase with a lot of money and then give it to the godfathers or middlemen, and then they go and then get people to say, you are the candidate of the party. That's not the intention of democracy at all. It's not. The intention is, if you look at what is the meaning of democracy itself, government of the people, by the people, for the people. And if the primary is the beginning of that process of the government, then the people that are going to be governed must have a say, directly on who governs them. That's why we call it direct primary. But if you do not allow, if you should change them, you compromise them, you kind of disconnect them with the process, and then until after somebody has already been elected, as representative of the party, and perhaps he wins. Where is democracy? Where is the meaning of democracy?
So how will direct primaries change all of this?
Completely change it, because that is the intention of direct primaries, is to ensure that you have, in a very often than not, direct dealing with the person who is going to elect you. Tell him what your programs are. You're supposed to sell yourself, market yourself. tell him why should he elect you, through your posters, through your adverts, through direct, link with the person, and then so that the person can now make a judgment as to who represent me as far as the party, a card-carrying member is concerned. That's why in our party, Action Democratic Party, ADP, from the beginning, our process is direct primaries. In 2017, when we came on board, we put it in our constitution that the only system by which we are going to put somebody to represent the party is through a system that allows every card-carrying member of the party to have a say, as to who represent him, and that's direct primaries.
Okay.
So we believe that is what democracy is all about, and because that's what it says.
But some people are saying that both direct and indirect primaries are all legitimate democratic processes. They both can lead to legitimate democratic outcomes, in terms of which candidates are elected, including the consensus candidates.
Yeah, but the experience in Nigeria is different. We all know. We know that whenever they have these primaries, we know what always happens. People are giving money. In fact, it's an open secret that it has become a commercialized, process. It's not supposed to be so. But if it's direct primaries, how much money can you spend? Take for instance our party. We have millions of members. You can't reach all these millions of members. You must be able to attract their interest through what you can do, through their perception of you, and then what your track record and the fact that they know that if you go there, you're going to represent them well. It's not that all they see is the money, not the individual. They can't ask questions, but here they can ask questions. They can take a decision that no, I'm not voting for this one. So that is why direct primary is supposed to be the system, because that's the intention of democracy. It's not autocracy where you can say just one system. You don't have any choice. When they say this person.
But again, this brings to the issue of scale.
Yeah.
The size of the individual parties. You talk about your party, and
That's
maybe
right.
and I should hold you up to your claim about having millions of people to fact check that.
Yes.
But for now, our focus is on the direct primaries.
Yes.
The largest parties presently, in terms of representation across the states, and also in national political offices, is the APC and the PDP. So these ones are saying, some people are saying that this makes it difficult for them to organize direct primaries because of the massive cost that it will involve. We're not even talking about INEC yet. We're talking about the cost that it will mean to each party to have representation and representatives at each ward. There are thousands of wards across the country.
Yes.
So how would that work out?
No, we see, don't forget that the whole electioneering process is going through digitalization by INEC. The whole process is going to digitalization, from the voter accreditation, from even voter registration, accreditation, and even casting of the vote, and even transmission of the votes. It's in the bill, which we are talking about today.
Yes.
That electronic transmission of the bill is now allowed. And also direct primaries, I'm sure Mr. President will give assent to that bill, because it is the legacy, the only legacy that will live, that will become his.
Are you saying he doesn't have any other legacies other than this?
I think whatever legacies he has, this is at the bottom of Nigeria as a nation that will be respected, that will take its rightful place, that will now be able to give space to those leaders that have the quality of education, skills, and then the capacity, and also the passion and the empathy, to really deliver, what democracy dividends is all about. This is the only process that can allow that. If Mr. President misses this point, this historical opportunity that God has given to him, I'm sure he will not like himself when he has left the scene, and probably somebody else comes and then take the glory of this very, very, very historic, gift. It's a gift, really, that God has given to him. Because when you put this in place, you have corrected almost all the ills in the nation called, the country called Nigeria. Do you know why?
Why?
You see, if you look at Nigeria, we have everything that a country should have to become great. The only missing link between this country and greatness is leadership.
Okay.
And why is it so? It's because our system of recruitment of leadership is corrupt. Even Mr. President himself, unfortunately, he was produced by that corrupt system. And that is why he's finding it so difficult to rise to the occasion to do all those things that he wanted to do before coming on board. It's because he was produced by that system, which is corrupt. Some people had to go and then steal money to come and ensure that he wins at the primaries, because of the millions of naira they were given. So
the president's election in 2015 and 2019 are all products of a corrupt system?
Certainly it is. Everybody knows that. Ask the delegates, they'll tell you. Some of them will go home with even dollars, thousands of dollars, were given to them. PDP, APC, that's what they do. So how can you sit comfortably in your office, as
in
an elected president?
In 1983,
yeah,
when the current president, President Mohammed, then head of state, when he took over a party, he said that the parties who did not rig or buy votes are those ones who do not have the capacity to rig. So could it be true even today that it's not just, even if ADP, your party, and all these other parties, if they had the capacity to rig, they will do the same?
Exactly, because the process you have today says you must rig, you must buy votes. You have to induce, the individual voter, with some money, because the gatekeepers, the middlemen, will come to you that, okay, I am the one that is bringing these delegates, and then, in fact, they quoted them. You can't even access them. Even you as the candidate, you can't have access to them. You have to pay before you have access to them. So the issue is that the system, that's why I'm saying he knows it himself, Mr. President, that it is the most corrupt system that we have in place. And thank God, history has presented him now with opportunity to correct those things. I am not saying that it's going to be the silver bullet that will solve all our problems, but definitely it's going to be the beginning of solving Nigerian problems, because, like I said before, we're going to have leaders that will now do our bidding, leaders that will feel the pains of the people, leaders that can now transform this opportunity, these potentials that we have, which is huge in terms of human resources, human capital, in terms of natural resources, in terms of the size of the economy itself, in terms of the population that we have, in terms of the fact that Nigeria as a country is respected everywhere in the world and is looked up to as a leader, especially on the continent of Africa. So, and we play big in the global economy setting, like you know. So Nigeria is that giant that is waiting to take its rightful place in the scheme of things in the whole world. And the only way it can happen is when you have leaders. It's not like we don't have them. Look at what is happening outside Nigeria. The Okonjo-Iwealas, the Amina, of UN, the Adeshinas. You can go on and on and on. These are Nigerians who are really been, there are some we don't even hear about them. Go to America itself. Biden's administration has at least not less than 8 or 10 Nigerians in top positions, who are making very, very strategic positions in the economy, in the polity.
And all of this connect to direct primaries.
Direct primaries, because people are given opportunity to choose, in a way that you don't compromise the individual, you don't compromise the system itself. So that's why we are saying direct as ADP. Action Democratic Party, we recognize all these things. We saw it. We saw that this is not the way to go. And people saying the cost of running it is huge, like you are saying. The issue is that, you see, when you look at the cost of not doing it, compare the cost of doing it, believe you me, you go for the cost of doing it. Because the cost of not doing it the way it's supposed to be done is what we are suffering from today. Banditry, all sorts of high employment, high inflation, economic retrogression, corruption and all these things. I mean, the cost of that cannot be quantifiable. Perhaps you can quantify the cost of running a proper direct primaries. How much will it cost, for God's sake? So the people are using costs, are looking for excuses, to continue to do what they know, it's not in the interest of the country.
Thank you. Your last statement brings us to the politics of this amendment bill.
Yeah.
Whereas you've spoken very glowingly about this bill, those who are promoting it also appear to have their own reasons for promoting it. And some of these reasons are entirely partisan. rather than, in the interest of the public, as you put it. For example, the legislators, people are saying that the reason why they are promoting this is because they want to become more independent of governors. They don't want to follow their governors in terms of primaries and so on. So that means there is a self-interest involved. What's your take on this? And then the governors are said to be lobbying the presidency to quash that part of the electoral amendment bill.
Yes, I will agree with you that the governors are too powerful the way they are, And of course, if there's anything that will bring the powers that the governors wield into a normal, realm of, governance.
You're speaking about governors, but a lot of your political career has been in aspiring also to be a governor.
Exactly.
So I wanted to bring that.
Yes. You see, they have unwieldy power of doing things wrong or rightly, to achieve, certain. In most cases, selfish interest. So the issue of the National Assembly members who you say perhaps are being rather selfish because they have some interest, of freeing themselves from the hold of the governors. Also the nationals, Nigerians too, are looking for that freedom. So it's like the saying that your enemy's enemy is your friend. Okay. So today the National Assembly people have discovered that these enemy of the people are also their own enemies.
Governors are the enemy of the
people. Yes, they are. Okay. The way they are running things. It's not intended that the governors should dictate who goes to represent you, in the assembly. They are not to dictate who goes into the houses of assembly, in the states. Because the intention is to have separation of power so that going forward you have checks and balances.
But there's also need for cooperation between the governor and the representatives, the legislators, particularly those in Abuja here, representing a state. For example, say the governor of Katsina State or governor of Imo State. He needs to work in cooperation with the members of the assembly representing Imo State or Katsina State here in Abuja.
Ideally.
So, but isn't that what the governors are trying to promote?
No, it's not at all. That's what they're trying to promote. They are trying to promote the fact that when they want to go, most of them, they have now developed this system of using National Assembly as their retirement home, where they retire to. I mean, the governors. Anyone that finishes, the next thing he wants to do is to be in the Senate, Well, I don't have any problems with that, but the fact is that the governors don't want a situation where they will lose that, opportunity or that control, which the power that they will now, because they dictate who wins the elections, who becomes the senator or House of Representatives member from their state. In most cases, they give it to themselves or to their own lackeys, Okay. So the point we are trying to make is that this is the beginning of sanitizing the electioneering process in the country and also giving this country the kind of governance it requires. When I say governance, the people that will really deliver the so-called dividend of democracy to the people. Because if you have a system that is in a state capture kind of situation like we have it in Nigeria today, because the governors represent the agents of state capture, and that's why nothing works. You go to the states, you don't see any development because nobody challenges them, nobody asks questions, and then if you ask questions, of course they'll deal with you. That's the end of your career as a politician. So that's what we are trying to end now. Direct primaries will be the beginning of the process of doing that. I am not in any way saying that direct primaries is the panacea, to all our problems, or it's going to be the most, the silver bullet, or it will be without its own problems. Definitely, we are going to have problems, but we are there as human beings. You're supposed to think out of the box, isn't it? To solve problems.
Yes.
People are saying that it's going to with a lot of problems. Yes. Necessity is the mother of invention. But if you are talking about wars being too many, that we have several thousand, hundred thousands of wars in the country, we go and then think out of the box how to solve the problems. Democracy itself, everything about life it's a challenge, until people now, go into burn midnight oils and things like that. The electricity here we are using was discovered. It wasn't there before. Everything about life has to be discovered, one way or the other. So if a problem presents itself, then we go out after the solution and look for the solution.
Thank you. But there's also this side about what direct primaries mean. It may mean pandering to the population, pandering to, based on popularity. It does not necessarily, lead to outcome in terms of quality. It might be outcomes in terms of popularity. And the best candidate may not necessarily be the most popular candidate. So if voters who now elect candidates within a political party base their choices on popularity rather than quality, what happens in that case? It doesn't, for example, I see that you remember the CPC in 2000, and I think was the 2011 elections. The CPC, they had direct primaries in some states, or maybe across the country. And maybe in Adamawa State, I remember, for example, that former retired Colonel or Brigadier General Buba Marwa, who had been military administrator in Lagos State and who was well known throughout the country to have done well at that time, he lost in the primaries, in the direct primaries, because he was not well known among the people, whereas other candidates who probably were not as qualified, just assuming they won. So what do you say?
The question you ask yourself first is that, are you electing leaders or you are electing managers?
Okay.
Through a process of, electioneering process. I think to a very large extent you are electing leaders. These leaders are now to look for managers, of the economy, at the state level, at the federal level, and things like that. The president is not supposed to know it all. All he's supposed to know is supposed to personify the leadership quality of being able to identify experts that will do the work for them. So, if he's a popular person, fine. It's provided he meets the requirement of the Constitution, which would have taken into consideration some of these things you are talking about. Does this person have the basic knowledge to understand what is good and from what is bad for his people? Fine. If he does that and he meets the requirement of the Constitution, then the rest is let the man go and look for who is the best you talk about oil, who knows about oil, agriculture, who is the expert in agriculture, education, who is the expert in education, and then like that. So I don't think it will be anything that will become a problem. That kind of, it won't happen that way. It will not in any way reduce the quality of what you are going to have as far as governance is concerned, end of the day.
Thank you. So maybe my final question before we go on break. And when we come back, we'll be looking at the INEC, where INEC features on this. But still on citizens.
That's right.
Nigerians generally, the political parties, even the PDP and the APC, who are the more dominant parties, the people who are actually card-carrying members of these parties are not many. And sometimes they are, co-politicians who, some of whom are the delegates you are saying. So some of whom actually even want to be induced.
That's right.
By those who pay, give them money and so on. So how would direct primaries change this? If the party membership comprises of people who only a small number of people who pay attention to politics, since the larger number of Nigerians do not. How would that change? How would direct primaries change?
Well, that's why in ADP we are launching our online registration in about 2-3 weeks' time, and that program is going to show that ADP is not just a political party. We are also an empowerment organization, meaning that we've devised a means by which we'll empower our members, so that they are not going to be, like you say, professional politicians. They should have a second address. Not only as a politician, you must have something that you are going to be doing that will earn you, a very
regular
good,
income.
Yeah, income. So we are coming up with that program, and it's going to be fascinating, really. People will see the difference between our party and other parties, that we are trying to see how we can transform these people that you said will be relying on some of these handouts that is coming from the politicians. We're trying to change that scenario against the background of the fact that, like some people, will say that democracy is a luxury, in a situation where you have a high level of ignorance and a high level of poverty. In that instance, the person does not enjoy that latitude of independence in terms of taking decision and making the sound judgment as to who represent him, because he's hungry, perhaps he's ignorant, which is prevalent in our society, as it is. But at least we are moving forward, and the fact of the matter is that by direct primaries, you would have now given power back to the people. Okay. It's not, you have removed to a very large extent the middlemen, people who are now profiteering with these things I've talked about, that ignorance and also poverty. So it will now be between the person who wants to be and those that are going to elect him, because they have much more freedom, in fact, than what they enjoy today. So, and I think it will introduce that sanity it will require to now begin to challenge, even the people who wants to represent them, at the various tiers of government. So I believe that the citizen, yes, like I've said, conditioned in the situation, the state of our development. And this is why some of us are saying that it's high time we begin to think that we can't continue to do the same thing the same way and expect different results.
So we cannot continue to do the same thing over and over again. So maybe on this note, we'll be taking a break for just a minute. When we return, we'll be discussing about the role that INEC can play if you have direct primaries. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is Daily Politics on Trust TV. And today we are discussing the amendments to make direct primary mandatory for political parties. You can also follow the discussion on our social media platforms on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Engineer Sani, YY Sani, as we were discussing earlier, even before I come to the issue of how INEC, the increased role that INEC is going to play and whether the pros and cons of that, let us look at the other, let's say, 16, 15 parties in the political system.
That's right.
What capacity do they have to organize direct primaries for their members?
Well, excuse me. It's just like the situation we're having today. Okay. I know. INEC has discovered that without digitalization of the electioneering process, there's no way they can manage, this assignment given to them by the Constitution of conducting free, fair, and credible election for Nigeria. And it's not only in the area of politics, even in the economy. Today, if you don't employ technology, there's no way you can run your enterprise or any business, even in the house, even individually. So the issue now is that we have to, as much as possible, bring in ICT into whatever we are doing. And so also the 18 or 17 political parties must also bring in, digitalization system into their processes so that they can be able to be in compliance with the law. The fourth industrial revolution is going to be driven by ICT. We have already seen it. People are talking about AI, artificial intelligence and things like that. So I don't think it's something that is beyond, our capacity as political parties in Nigeria, because even people operating businesses in motor garages are using IT facilities, to run their businesses. So how much more of the most serious business, on the land, which is politics. It's the most serious business. It's the one that affects all other businesses. Decisions made by politicians affects everybody, generations yet unborn. So that's the most serious business. So there's no amount of money you spend that is too much, and then it's not that you are going to reinvent the wheel. The technologies are there already. It's not just for you to acquire them.
So to take you on, take up from the amount of money you're talking about directly. INEC is saying, or some people are saying that INEC would need as much as 350 billion to conduct both, to monitor the direct primaries as well as the main general elections. So if this bill passes, then INEC will definitely have an increased role to monitor the direct primaries. What does it mean for Nigeria? Spending 315, that's almost about $800 million on elections. What happens after elections or after election day? Wouldn't children go to school? Wouldn't there be need to have food on the table? Aren't there need to have hospitals and drugs in hospitals? Is the cost of election not too much already, even before adding direct primaries to the bill?
Do you know how much corruption costs us in Nigeria? In a year? In a day, actually? It's more than what you are talking about. It's more than 350 billion naira that you are talking about. What corruption costs Nigeria in a day? Because, for instance, let me talk about the one that government itself came up with. In 2019, there was a study made by the Economic Council, which was led by Obaseki, the governor of Edo
State.
Yes, to find out how much crude oil theft is taking place in Nigeria. And they came up with a figure of $3 billion in the first 5-6 months, almost $1.5 billion at that point in time. $1.5 billion, So, and then if the kind of figures, what yesterday I was hearing, $153 million was transferred by one MD of a bank for Diziani. Diziani went away with billions of dollars of Nigerian money. When you calculate the amount of money we are losing, that's just federal level, not state level yet. Simply because you are recruiting questionable characters to run the affairs of the government. That's why we are losing so much. People without empathy, people that have no connection with the nationals. They don't feel anything about them because they believe the invested money is business as far as they are concerned. They fill the briefcases with dollars, come back and then change it and then start buying up votes and what have you. So I don't know. I'm telling you, you cannot. You can't compare. What we are losing today in a day in Nigeria. Crude oil theft. I mean, it's amazing. So if through this, even if we're going to spend 350 trillion naira to ensure that we get the process of electing a leader right, that will end up with a leader that can surround themselves with people that will really deliver for this country, believe you me, we'll forget how much we are spending. Because look at the killings going on. Look at the banditry. Look at the unemployment level. Look at the inflation. In a country that is so blessed as we are, fabulously blessed, with everything that you need, to be great, and you are just running in a vicious cycle of poverty, the degradation, people killing themselves. Some people are even committing suicide. Look at what is happening to Nigerians today in the market. Go to the market. Go to what happening Nigeria is facing today. And then just 350 billion naira is something we're talking about. I think it's chicken feed as far as what is happening to us as far as
the cost of bad governance.
Bad governance. Thank you very much. That's what I'm looking for. So I think don't even talk about money here. Money is not the thing. We're talking about sanity. We're talking about rescuing this country. We're talking about how do we grow this economy? How do we take our rightful place in the scheme of things? How does Nigeria really become that great, a giant of Africa that is supposed to be? How do we really, deliver to the people? So and the only way we can do it is when you have the right caliber of people. That's round pegs in the round holes. That is then that things are run. It's not that America or anything, they're better than us. No, they have the right leadership, team, at the helms of affairs. And that's what we're lacking here. Believe me, it's nothing more than that.
Okay.
President Mobari came, with a lot of passion, with a lot of zeal, but he was cut down. He was just put down like this by corruption. He didn't even know. He doesn't even know what is happening because it's so overwhelming. And the only reason why it's happening is because we don't have a process of electing, the right people that will do the right things. So whatever INEC needs in the right, proportion should be given to them.
Thank you. So the monetary cost is one thing.
Yeah.
Organizational capacity is another thing.
Yes.
So people are saying that right now, even without the direct primaries to add to it,
yes,
INEC is already facing a lot of challenges in terms of organizing elections. For example, even in the recently concluded elections, a lot of people congratulated INEC for a successful outing, but it was also there was also cases of delayed deployment of electoral materials to respective polling units and so on and so forth. And of course, problems with digital technologies that INEC is trialing. So if you add direct primaries to this, how much wouldn't that overwhelm INEC already?
No, it won't.
Okay.
In fact, I'm even asking for the state INEC, that is state electoral bodies, to be added to INEC so that you can have sanity at the tier where it matters, because that's the closest tier to the people. And when you do not correct that, those things are happening there. The organized crime taking place as local government elections. If you don't correct
INEC has offices in these states.
It does, but INEC doesn't
statewide elections.
Yeah, you know what happens there. They just anoint people and say this is done, and we're appointing, and that's it. So that's why we are not getting it correct. Because if that tier is not properly managed, or run the way it should be, once the process is foul from the beginning, that from the beginning of it, all through, that's what you see. That's why you see corruption all over the place. Governors have captured the state. It's a state capture in the real sense of it. If you are looking for state capture, come to Nigeria and come to state governors. Even the local government people that they're supposed people elected by the people are not. It's not that. That's what is happening. So INEC will employ, and they are employing. That's why I salute the courage and the intelligence of the man who is heading INEC today, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu. He's a very fine gentleman that is committed to ensuring that he leaves a legacy that will by far, surpass what Jega did, in terms of delivering, credible, free, and reliable, a peaceful election for Nigeria. That's why they are introducing ICT in all facets of the process. So and I think they are going to succeed. When you employ technology, nothing again is beyond your capacity, because at that point in time it has almost limitless capacity, because all you need to do is add the capacity by way of adding technology and then bringing it. How many people are we talking about in Nigeria? 200 million. Okay. India, how many? 800 billion, voters or something like that. So technology can do it, even more than that. Technology can handle the whole globe, as it is. So I don't think it is beyond the capacity of INEC. And look at the young men, graduates coming out of that are looking for jobs. They can be employed where the manual intervention is required. So I think we are in the right direction as what we are doing now. Direct primaries, and also adding the responsibility of conducting elections at local government level to INEC is also a very fundamental, element in getting democracy in Nigeria to be entrenched and then to survive, because it's a danger. There's a great danger to survive democracy at that tier where it matters. You either come out and cancel that process, that local government elections, and allow governors to just appoint whoever they want to run those tier that that tier of government, or because two things are happening. You are burning the candle from the two ends. Here you are spending people's money on an election that you are not going to conduct, and you make other parties to also spend their money. They kill people unnecessarily. So why should we allow that to happen?
You mean at the states?
At the state level, at the local government level, the elections taking place at local government level. Those are organized crimes that we know. How can it be that when elections are conducted, they say it's only one party, that wins all the councillors and the chairman, local government and everything, So those people, are they robots that they don't think about the other person again, except those that are oppressing them, are pauperizing them, are giving them hell. They are not repairing their roads. They are not building schools for them. They are not building hospitals for them. They are not paying their salaries on time. And when elections are held, the people will now vote for those people.
Okay, so this brings us to the constitutionality of having INEC into conducting direct primaries. Yes. Some people are saying that direct primaries or primary elections generally are internal affairs of political parties, that there is no need to bring the state into these affairs, that primaries should be left to parties. Even that even if you want direct or indirect or consensus or any of the other models that are available, let this be determined solely and independently by the political parties themselves. That if you bring INEC into it, then you are, limiting the power of political parties. That is limiting the power of civil society, while again increasing the power of the state. What
the question you ask yourself? No. I think the question you are getting it wrong.
Okay.
I mean, you look at the beginning. How do you have? How do parties come to be?
Okay.
The Constitution created. There's an Act of Parliament. That created INEC.
Yes.
And INEC is given responsibility to register political parties and monitor them, ensure that they obey certain rules and regulations, so that we will have an organized political environment that will ensure that democracy thrives. That's why you have INEC there. And so if you now say that, and you ask yourself another question again, that what is the essence of a political party? They have only one objective, that they are there to do only one thing, and one thing only, to win elections, to participate in elections and win elections. That's why you have political parties. They are not cultural organizations. They are not social clubs where you go and drink every goes home. No, they come together to pursue some ideas that those who have common share common ideas. They come together and say, well, we think government should be run this way, and therefore they now go about how to install governments, through their own belief and the ideas they have. So, but then the umpire, somebody must regulate. That's why, because they don't just happen by themselves. Even private organizations are regulated, one way or the other by the government. So it's a laissez-faire system that you have, but not just without boundaries. So that they don't overstep their bounds. Because, like I said earlier, it's the most serious business on the land. Political parties are very, very serious organizations, because they are the agents, of institutions that will manage your affairs. End of the day, that will produce people that will manage your affairs. So this is why I think INEC should be involved. INEC should know how.
For some people also, but it's also possible. What about because corruption is everywhere in the country, and many INEC either official or ad hoc staff have also been accused of fraudulently, engaging in fraudulent activities during elections. In some cases, some of these cases have in fact been in court, and in some cases even convictions are obtained. So wouldn't officials of INEC also sell out, even direct primaries, due in these circumstances as well?
Well, I think what we are looking for is not a it's not a perfect situation, because there's no human, organization that is perfect, at all. Human beings, we are not perfect. Nothing is perfect, really. Judges are also found wanting, clerics are found wanting, in their way, and look at every aspect of life, organization that you find, people are found wanting. There's no organization that does not have this kind of, people that will go against the rules. What you are trying to do, or what you only do, is to minimize, those infractions. But they will take place, no matter what you do, no matter what kind of system you have. There might be some, infractions that will take place. So you cannot have a utopian kind of arrangement, in any organization at all. It's run by human beings. So I am not in any way saying that we should tolerate, those who
activities.
Run foul of the law. No, but you must expect it. You must expect it to happen, and you keep perfecting it until you get it near perfection. Okay. So I don't think that is enough reason to say INEC should not be allowed to run this system.
As we get close to the end of the program,
yes.
What about, let's look at the governors again. But it's said that they are lobbying the presidency to have that amendment not assented to by the president. Do you think that they should succeed, or do you think that they will succeed?
No, you see, I have nothing against the governors, campaigning against what is in the best interest of the people of this country. Okay. And also, Mr. President also knows that, like when he was choosing his ministers, he told them that your mandate is to run your state. My mandate is to run the whole country as Nigeria, isn't it, as a country? Then the governors who are running all over the place, trying to lobby Mr. President, well, the governor of Kano State can say, well, in Kano State, I want to enjoy this, freedom, and Lagos can say the same thing, Port Harcourt can say the same thing, Yobe can say the same thing, Niger can say the same thing, but Mr. President is running the entire country. So he has to look at what is the best, system for Nigeria, not what is the best system for Kano State or Lagos State or Port Harcourt. No. Even when they come together, they are coming together as individuals, isn't it? That does not make them one. All the governors coming together do not equate to the president. They are not equal to Mr. President. Mr. President is still above them. He is one and only one. So he is to do what Nigerians want. The governors can do what they want to do in their state. So I don't think Mr. President will lose this opportunity, because it's a golden opportunity for him to write his name in gold. History has presented him this, unusual, opportunity for him to write his name in gold, and I don't think he will miss it. He knows it. I'm sure Mr. President has sense of history. He knows what it means, because generations yet unborn will come to remember him if he does the right thing. But if he does the wrong thing, I'm sure he will not be happy with himself. And the wrong thing is not to assent to this bill. Okay.
Thank you very much, Engineer YY Sani, for coming on the show today. And we hope to have you again some other time. This is where we come to the end of today's program. We hope to be here for you again tomorrow. And we hope too that you'll be joining us same time on the Daily Politics show. Once again, I am Suleiman. Bye-bye.